So good morning, everybody. It's Steve Bates here, the Chief Executive of the BIA, and welcome to this BIA webinar on getting the most from JP Morgan Week 2017. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope you're all set for a productive and effective 2017. What I hope we can do in the next few minutes is give you an outline of what's happening in San Francisco next week from a UK perspective. Sorry, we do it at this time of the day is so that it's before the Californians are up. Provide you with some of the latest documentation and argumentation that we'll be making around why the UK is a great place to base a life science company, which may be useful background music for some of the things you'll be doing with your own companies. And I hope that this will give you a time saver as a result of ahead of a busy week for the new year. So I hope we can speed up your preparation through the time that we've got here. As there are so many people on the line, I'm afraid we've got you all on mute. I will take questions later, but if I can ask for you to do this through the chat system on the webinar, that will be the effective way that I'll be able to answer them. So questions as we go along, I'll answer at the end via the chat system. And apologies if you wanted to talk, there's just so many people online today, it would be impossible to do so. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the BIA. The team have kindly put in to this slide the fact that I got an OBE in the New Year's Honours List, which I am delighted and slightly humbled, but that's who you've got talking to you as we speak. So, JP Morgan, I've probably got a mixed group here, people who've been to this conference for many, many years, perhaps into their 20th anniversary of going or such like, through to people for whom this is new. So apologies if some of this is basic to you, and equally apologies if it's lightning speed if this is the first time you're getting it, but I hope that we can provide a good context for everybody. Next week really is several conferences in one in San Francisco, and many people don't go to any of the conferences, just simply go to San Francisco and take meetings with many of the people who invest in life sciences. Investors often take suites in hotels near the centre of San Francisco and organise private meetings all the way through. So whether you're going to JP Morgan, whether you're going to Biotech Showcase, or whether you're going to one of the other conferences or just going for meetings, much of the UK life science scene will be in San Francisco next week, and no doubt you'll bump into people not only in the street but also at the networking and reception scene, which is vibrant and reasonably open access there. So look forward to seeing many of you there, and these are the ones that I think are the main ones that you're going to. Many people will go without a ticket for JP Morgan, and in the main hotel where the JP Morgan conference is held, it's usually absolutely chock-a-block and very inefficient in terms of moving around. Lots of people there, but unless you're interested in the I think it's not a prerequisite to having a successful week. Getting yourself organised before you go is crucial, and I'm sure most of you have already got most of your schedule fully planned. But I would say that the social events in the evening are something that are useful, and lots of people are there. Make sure you've got your phone charged and you've got your business cards ready, because you will bump into people and make connections you hadn't otherwise expected. Many BIA companies, I think, are focused on, if you like, the junior conference to the JP Morgan conference, the Biotech Showcase event, which this year has expanded from being in the Park 55 hotel to being in 2 hotels. So it's both in the Hilton San Francisco Union Square and Park 55 hotel, and has grown in size and scale again this year. 1,600 companies, 550 investors, over 300 company presentations, and one-to-one partnering, similar to that which you see in Bio Europe if you've been, or other events. So many people will be doing partnering there. And if you've not booked a ticket, discounts are still available of $300 on basically $2,500 ticket for United Life Science members through the Bio Partner website. But I imagine most people are already booked to know which of these conferences they're going to. This is a map of downtown San Francisco, and if you look in the top right-hand corner where it says JP Morgan, the Western St. Francis Conference Hotel in San Francisco is directly on Union Square. That's the central point, I suppose, that people go to. But Biotech Showcase has now expanded from Park 55, which is at the bottom of this picture, into the Hilton, which is just a block across. So I think that those are the key things. And this year's reception, the UK networking event, is literally one street away at the Marines Memorial Club. So we're all very close and downtown for this conference this year, and that just gives you a sense as to where the geography is in San Francisco if you've not been before. Biotech Showcase, as well as being a partnering conference, has a number of panels and events. And one of the things that we have done as the BIA this year, working with the Department for International Trade, Bill Fisher, MedCity and the London Stock Exchange, is we've put together a panel on Brexit, what are the threats and opportunities, and this is sitting on schedule for the Biotech Showcase panels on Monday. It will be at 11 o'clock, and I think we've got a good lineup of people presenting there. We have the new Government Minister, Lord Pryor, coming to speak about what the government's doing. I'll be there coordinating. Elliot Forster, who many of you know from MedCity, is also going to be there. Chris Mayer from the Stock Exchange, as well as AstraZeneca, to give a perspective from a global company HQ'd out of the UK. So the objective of this panel really is to give an international audience an understanding of and confidence in why the UK continues to be a great place and why we're doing very well as a sector from the UK, and answer their questions that are around Brexit. And also, I think, tell the story of UK life science and why we're doing well, what we're looking to do. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go forward. So, is this compulsory for BIA members? Absolutely not. Are we targeting this at an external audience, at a US investor audience, at others who are interested in this from around the globe? Yes, we are. But we'd be delighted if you wanted to come along and support, or if you've got questions or want to add your voice to this panel. Do come and see us at Continental Room 8 in Hilton on Union Square, 11 to 12 on Monday. Perhaps more important than what we're doing is what you guys are all doing, and there's a fantastic range of UK companies presenting at Biotech Showcase really throughout the conference. You can see from Monday, Amzena, Osferix, Impromix, hVivo, Oxford Biomedica, Renuron, Acodia, Angle, Modulin, Merio are up on Monday and Tuesday at Biotech Showcase. For those of you who are registered, you'll get the full pack, but these are ones that I'll be looking to go and see. And then Cambex, Edinburgh Molecular, Mina, Neri, Reviral, Scancell, Apta, Biosignatures and Vermida are also up on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll share these slides with you afterwards so you can get a sense of when people are on. But you can see there's a really good, strong showing from the UK as part of the presenting scheme at Biotech Showcase this year. And I would encourage you to mark your card and support other BIA members as they make their presentations at the start of the year. And I think you can see there is strength in depth, and we're really part of a very strong delegation going out to San Francisco this year. If I can turn to JP Morgan, the JP Morgan conference, which is in a sense aimed at the larger companies, focuses on publicly traded larger companies. The website is available today, and it is possible to log into this by simply adding your name, company and email address. You don't need to pay money or register to do this. It also hosts live webinars for those without a ticket next week. And there's lots of background information, JP Morgan's latest research notes and such like, which may be useful background reading, and certainly much better than carrying large wads of dead trees around with you next week. So I'd encourage you to have a look, go in, you can see the full schedule, you can see who's presenting, what they're talking about, and many of the things will be available even if you're not traveling on a webinar, which may be useful to you. I've had a quick scan, and apologies if I've missed anybody, but if you look at some of the BIA members that are presenting across the week at the JP Morgan conference, you can see GSK, Shire, Lonza, BTG, UCB, Vectura, Ablink, Circassia, Nightstars for the first time, I believe, are up. Oxford Immunotech, I think, also are presenting at JP Morgan. So there's a good range of UK-based or UK-engaged companies from a global perspective around. You'll have your own highlight some ones that you want to engage with, but you can see there's another set of companies presenting there, and some interesting panels as well. One of the things that's slightly different this year is that I don't believe AstraZeneca are presenting at JP Morgan this year. The highlight of the week, of course, is the networking, and this year we have an event the BIA hosted, supported by MedCity, Field Fisher, the Stock Exchange, London and Partners, and the Department of International Trade, at the Marines Memorial Club, 8 till 10 on Monday evening, which is 602 Suter Street, which is just around the corner from where the action is at. We're full, unfortunately. We've got lots of people coming, but there is a waiting list, and if you email Jane, she'll put you on the waiting list, and we'll try our best to make sure that as this flows through the room, we'll do our best to get everybody in. So that's where we'll be. This is a change for us from previous years. We're not doing an event on the Wednesday evening as we have the last couple of evening times with AstraZeneca. They chose not to do an event this time round, so this is our alternative. So nothing from us on the Wednesday evening, but a good event on the Monday evening, I hope. There's also, if you're interested, prior to that, an event organised through Scottish Development International. They are just around the corner at the Metropolitan Club between 6 and 8, doing a networking reception and whisky tasting. And Srila is the contact there. We'll share with you the contacts for that going after this webinar. If I can, I'm now going to turn to, if you like, the UK message, and you may wish to have this as a background to, or a backdrop to, any of the things that you're talking about in terms of your own companies and what you're doing. But this is the mood music that we're trying to provide from the UK in partnership with the Department of International Trade as we go into 2017. And I think my approach to this is we've got to sell ourselves even further and even better. We're going to make a really strong case for the UK as being one of the key global hubs for life sciences, and we go into 2017 with renewed confidence. And I always like to think that we put our Stetsons on when we go to the West Coast, make sure we never knowingly undersell ourselves, because the fundamentals of the UK life science sector are fundamentally strong. And the only thing that's happened in 2016 is that for US investors, the UK is now a place where your dollar goes further. So that's how I like to talk about 2016. If you look at some of the fundamentals for the UK, we have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We are the leading place in Europe for life sciences. We've got fantastic science base. Many of you will know these messages. Great companies, a highly competitive and efficient tax regime, strong support for the life science sector in terms of a national platform. The NHS has the capacity to be a key part of an integrated healthcare system, which is important for key parts of life science businesses going forward. And many people have had the UK as a launchpad for global success. So, what will we be saying? These are some of the points. You know this because you'll have heard this from me many times. We are Europe's hub for life sciences in terms of financing, inward investment, and a fantastic clinical development pipeline. Our science is fantastic for the world's top 10 unis, is something else nobody else can do. And we do have a fantastic record both in Nobel Prizes and cited life science publications. No other country has the ability to do this. Industrial base is getting really strong as well, with some fantastic companies to partner with. All the top 20 pharma operate in the UK, and we've had a significant investment since 2011 of 7.25 billion UK. So I think of that as talent, clusters, and facilities which enable us to do things well. I think also it never ceases to amaze me how poorly travelled our message on being a highly competitive and efficient tax regime is. The lowest corporation tax in G20 and G7, headline corporation tax is falling, and then really important attractive tax regimes and incentives for innovation, whether that be the biomedical catalyst, whether that be R&D tax credits, whether that be the way that no withholding tax and the open and flexible way in which you can operate in the UK. It's really important that people have an understanding that this can lead to effective tax rates of 11 to 13%, which is extremely competitive globally. We also should talk up, and I always talk up about some of the things that we have in the UK, some of the crown jewels, whether that be the support we've got from Innovate UK, some of the support we've got from the Catapult Network, the strength that we've had for many years from our research councils in terms of the MRC and others, the clinical research infrastructure through the National Institute for Health Research, which embeds clinical research into the NHS. And I think there are notable stories where you can talk about how people have found that a useful route into an integrated healthcare system, particularly in certain specific areas. And then if you look at Biobank, the 100,000 genome project, the ability for people to do things like the Salford lung study with real-world evidence generation in a complex primary care setting. These things we do in the UK and are very hard to do and are very hard to do elsewhere. And we really do have some fantastic opportunities here. So I think setting your business in the context of this is a world-leading environment is something that does give a competitive advantage. Never underestimate the UK's regulatory framework, standards and networks to enable global market access. We are well used to operating in the world of NICE, and none of this is new for us at all. Moving on, if I may, from that, I think we should also talk up the fact that the CRIC opens this year. There's nothing, as a centrepiece, if you want, for the UK's investment in research in this area and fundamental science. The fact that we've got next to King's Cross Station and next to the Google campus a fantastic biomedical research facility is really important. We've got an industrial strategy coming this year from the government, which again has the opportunity for more support. And on Brexit, we have a process in place to manage those things that should come up as uncertain, whether that be regulation or trade. But I think we've been trumped on uncertainty by a certain Donald Trump, and I think if you look around the world, it's we're all operating in environments where there are degrees of political uncertainty, not least in France, where there will be the presidential election this year, and in Germany, where there will also be presidential elections. And thank goodness we don't have the turbulence that you see in places like Indonesia or other places too. One thing I can be certain about is there'll be no referenda for the UK in 2017. If you're following social media, and I would encourage you to do this, hashtag JPM17 usually is a good place to catch up on what's going on across the piece, and hashtag Biotech Showcase will also give you good access to what's being talked about there. And if you are presenting, I would encourage you to use these hashtags, get somebody to do the highlights of what you're doing and add this hashtag to it, because it will amplify the message that you are giving, and it will amplify onto a broader audience that which you're engaged with. Many people follow these conferences virtually because they're not in San Francisco, and we found that you can really have an impact by adding these hashtags to materials that you're doing, and it's really straightforward to do. So I'd really encourage you to consider using virtual and social media to do it. The final point from me really is just about transporting around San Francisco. If you're going into San Francisco Airport, I always find getting on the BART is quicker than going on a cab to get downtown, and is very, very straightforward. There's various things there, and I just find that that's useful. This slide has got links into the various bits for you. So if you're doing your travel planning, click through this when we send it to you in the next 24 hours, and it will give you the way to get the cheap tickets and such like. Finally, from me at this point, I just want to highlight a few other BIA events. If I don't see you next week in San Francisco, I hope I'll be able to see you either at the gala dinner. A last few individual tickets are available. I think will be gone by middle of next week. We also have an event looking at what's happened in terms of UK investment into biotech over the longer view, with an event on the afternoon of 26th of January, which is of interest. And if I can mark your card for a UK CEO and Investor Forum, which may be of most relevance to the audience that we've got here who are likely to be travelling to San Francisco. This year it's slightly earlier than normal, 24th and 25th of May in Oxford. It may be one that you may want to register for or consider in your diary, a focused 24 hours that will enable you to move your business forward. I think that's probably it in terms of the formal presentation, so I will now look to see if we have questions or comments on chat. I see that I have missed Autolus off of my list, so apologies, Chris. If you tell me when and where you are presenting, it's my error. I will make sure that everybody knows when you are going. Does anybody else have thoughts and questions, around JP Morgan? How do we find out about receptions and events? I will make sure that we send in the link that we have got with the materials that we've got, the McDougall Communications list of JP Morgan receptions, which was published earlier this week, which is the best list I'm aware of receptions and networking events, and it's also got a star-coded thing as to how difficult they are to get into. I would encourage everybody to have a go heroes. You can often, if you turn up with the right person, walk your way into these things. Not all of them, but many of them, and even being in the queue, you can bump into people. So we will make sure that we send that round with the link. There's McDougall Communications, a US communications firm, do a decent list, and I will share the link to their link to this with you, and that's open access. Unless there's anything else, Chris, I'm keen to know when Autolus are presenting, if you know. I'm going to endeavour to unmute you so you can tell us if you're. Chris, when are Autolus presenting? We can't hear you, but we look forward to making sure that we have a list of ones that are there. Apologies. Yeah. Okay. Unless there's any other questions, let's have a look at that. I encourage you all to come on Monday evening. Look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great conference. I hope that's been useful. Feedback to us is always welcome on these things, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great conference.